and a new era has begun. You're joining us in a very big day for the entire advocating community. We're going to explain all of what's going on. We're going to be talking to you about a lot of great stuff, and a lot of great people are going to join us today talking about some amazing stuff. So I'm excited about it. But before we get there, people want to know why the sudden change. And for a lot of people, this might feel sudden. So I asked the wonderful guest that I had if I could have 15 minutes. And I'll be honest, a lot of what I'm going to say, I'm actually going to say just this once. And then we're not going to talk about it. Probably, I don't know for how long. I just know we're not going to talk about it. A lot of the stuff I'm going to say is personal, and it's my opinions and only my opinions, and it has nothing to do with the Advocating Network. So with that disclaimer put out, I'm going to start the show and then bring on some amazing people. I'm actually going to say, all right, so let's get to it. Let's take away this overlay. You guys can see me. So let's get started. For a quick history lesson. I've been doing this, believe it or not, since way back, all the way going back to 2012 when I started off a group. And that's going to be important because that group comes out of New York Comic Con. The group was called After the Connection. It was based on actually, it had been a couple of years, if not several, going to this thing called the Creators Connection, hosted by Buddy Scalera. You guys might know the name. We gave him an award, Hall of Famer, and it was pretty exciting. And I know I'm saying a lot. I apologize. This is off the top of my head, and I want to be raw and real with you guys. Some people are going to get angry probably if some of the things I'm going to say. So excuse the ums. So I created this, and I was inspired by it. So inspired that even after I broke my back and I became a cripple, I was still advocating for other people. And as a matter of fact, it fueled me to know that I was helping people. And I was giving people something worthwhile with my time when I could sit at a computer, because there were times I couldn't even sit at a computer. So I did all that, and that became a website. Back in 2015, in June 16th, we launched a website, and that website originally was called Written Sins Productions. Written Sins Productions. Couldn't get Written Sins, so we did Written Sins Productions. That was a horrible and bad failure and mess. In 2016, we released and have still gone by Creators of Written Sins in our URL. It was for everyone who was a creator, and since then we've been advocating. And in that time period, I have seen a lot. I've seen people rise, and basically everyone talks about a community, and this idea of a community is a funny thing because they tell you it's a community, but it's really not. It's a bunch of people who want you to follow them, and they want you to follow them like you're a sheep. And then there are real people out there advocating, and there are real people trying to help for each other, and there is definitely a difference. And I stress that to you. Because a lot of people hide behind that word community, and a lot of people hide behind the word indie. And one thing that's come up to me a lot lately is indie is supposed to be short for independent, but where does the extra I come from? Unless I'm spelling it wrong, which I'm dyslexic, there's only one I in it. And then I realized there are a few creators out there that made me understand why there are two I's, because with the word indie, it's all about people. Because I noticed indie use it as a slogan to sell you. There are people out there who go, I'm an indie creator. I'm indie. And they try to throw it in your face, and they try to use it as a marketing ploy. And I never fully understood that. And I kind of went along with it. I don't consider myself a sheep in any way, but I was inspired by people. I'll tell you one of the people I was inspired by, Dirk Manning. He wrote an entire book about right or wrong, and he told people how to be right or wrong. Problem is, when you spend enough time in any one given place, people disappoint you. Despite having wrote a book that is titled literally Right or Wrong, and maybe it's because it's not right, R-I-G-H-T, he doesn't understand right or wrong, and he did some stuff. We'll never know the stuff he did because he never even copped up to it. I asked him dead blank, well, what really happened? You've been such a public figure. You told everyone to be right or wrong. You told people to do better, and what did you do? You backed away. You blocked people who questioned you. And that left me feeling very burnt because he's someone I actually advocated for. I told other people you could trust this person. I told people this was a good person. How do I know that one of the girls that you're accused of doing things with wasn't inspired by me telling them it was okay? How many other people have you blackballed or blacklisted or tried to bully? We don't know because you won't step up and tell the truth. And I'm not here to burn you down. I don't care enough about you. You've already been canceled, Dirk. You just don't know it yet. You know, you wanted sheep. You wanted people to follow you. You definitely got that following, but this is never going to leave you. And it's not because you did something wrong. It's because when you could have had the integrity to say I did something wrong, you didn't do it. Maybe you needed to read your own book. Maybe you need to stop telling people what's right or wrong and read your own book. So he's one person who used indie in a way that made me sick of the word. And there's another person who absolutely did horrible things. Marcel Dupree. Marcel Dupree basically stole from creators. He took other people's stuff and he's trying to hold their IPs. He forces people to run away from projects. He does dozens of things. You throw it on the ground, Jax. Go ahead. He did dozens of bad things, and he's okay with it. He's just one of those guys. He'll go on a show if the guy hands him the questions ahead of time. That's the type of guy Marcel is. He won't actually answer it. I have friends who are still waiting for their books to be published, and he's got more excuses than the government on why it's not his fault. He should honestly be a politician. So there's another guy I defended. I spoke up for. And in the end of the day, I was wrong. I was wrong to support him and advocate. And I'll be honest with you, the list could go on. I could sit here and make an entire rant video about all the stuff that makes me mad. And I know in indie comics, we're supposed to be sheep now because we're indie. We're supposed to obey all the people above us. But one thing I noticed is that there are few people who are trying to actually help you. And I'm going to bring on the people who are trying to help you. I'm bringing on the people who are out there day in and day out doing something for other people, not because they're getting paid and not because they think that they're actually better than you, but because they really want to create a real community. Not an indie community with a double I, but an independent community. And not independent of each other, independent of the big money. Basically, they're doing it all on their own, but they are dependent on each other. Even though it says independent, they are dependent on other people to help them. And I don't think that these people who go around waving indie to make money fully embrace the fact that they are hurting other people, and they don't care. They don't embrace it publicly, but you hear about it all the time. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to sit around and tell me how to do what I do with advocating. They've spent years telling me everything I'm doing wrong. But 7-8 years later, I'm still doing it. And I'm still able to make mistakes and apologize for it. And I'm still putting all my passion in it. And they're out there trying to make themselves feel better by tearing people down. Every time you try to tear me down, I want you to understand, you make all the jokes you want at my expense. You can talk all the crap you want about me behind my back. I don't do this for you. I do it for my love of comics. And that is why I'm not giving up on advocating. And that is why we have not changed anything we're doing and why I have created something. Because I love comic books. And there are many creators out there who put their hearts into comic books. I'm tired of the lines. I'm tired of people making these rules about who can be who we can buy books from, what site I can kickstart or crowdfund on. I'm tired of all your rules. Let me tell you, I'm not that person. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm here to tear it down. The only place a gate looks good to me is broken open so other people can be where you're trying to hide. And look, I get it. You all want to talk about, well, we're doing it for quality's sake. But I've seen some of your books who you are gatekeeping. You're not doing it for quality. You're doing it because it's your friends. And that's what's ugly. That's why I felt just absolutely hate the word indie now. Because I've seen the people who use it. And I'm disgusted by them. I much prefer be called the underground devil now. I'd much prefer be called a comic book advocate. This is all personal stuff. This is all me not wanting to deal with the ugly people, the Dirk Mannings who tell other people to be better and doesn't live up to anything he's saying. And he could have come out again and said what he did and really earned our respect. But instead, he blocked people who disagreed with him. Those aren't anything made up. That's reality. That's really what he did. I'm not getting into all the stuff that people said because I don't want to play that game. He had the opportunity to clear the air. He did. Marcel Dupree went on a program, said that I wouldn't have an interview with him. I called him out, let someone else host the interview, and he ran. I don't know where he is. We still have a milk cart going around the United States looking for him because he's ran so far, no one knows where he lives anymore. We're trying to find him. We're trying to bring him back to the United States. I think he might be hiding in another country now. We're going to get him back, and one day we will interview him. And you know what? Despite everything about those two, I believe there should be a road for redemption for both of them. I believe everyone should have a road to redemption. In a minute, baby. I think everyone should have the way, but it starts with being honest. It starts with being able to say what you have done wrong and how you're going to change. Because I think we all grow. And that's the whole point about being independent, is the power and the beauty of growing. We all get to move forward. In a minute, sweetie. He wants ice cream. So, you know, I want to be part of the people who tear down the walls. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm going to put my heart out there to help other people because I love comic books. And I know there are other people out there who love comics, who want to make great comics, and who do make great comics. And that's what I want this new initiative, the Comic Book Advocate, to focus on comic books. I want you, the fans, to give you, the fans, the credit you deserve. You are who we are supposed to be impressing, not each other, not ego rants where someone tries to make themselves bigger and better. You know how I want you to judge us? By the content we put out. That's how. I don't want you to judge anything else. The fans, I'm listening to you, and I hear you. And that's one thing that everyone's missing, is that no one is doing it. Hold on, sweetie. I'm almost done. I know I'm talking a lot. He's apparently tired of me talking, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are, and I promise I'm almost done. I do want to say this, that it's a good thing that Dirk Manning likes ice cream, because he's going to need a lot of it, because there are a lot of people who are mad at you, and a lot of people who are hurt by you. So I'm going to make this one last thing. Why don't you just come out and tell us what you did and go to therapy? Because if any of what is said about you is true, then you need some therapy. And as a human being to human being, I'm worried about you. Because if you're doing that stuff, there might be something you need to talk to someone about to feel better and to be a better person. So take your own advice. You know, stop hiding behind books. Start getting the help you need. Marcel, I'm going to find you. Next time you kickstart something, we're going to all be there. You made so many people mad. Hold on, baby. You made so many people mad that it's not going to end. So that's just what it's going to be. And one other thing that I do want to bring up before that I think is so important. It's easy to talk about being a good person. It's easy to talk about telling other people what to do. It's easy to point fingers. It's harder to live up to the standard of what you do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to read you guys an actual statement I wrote, because I wanted to get this one right, and I rarely do this, but here it is. When I'm done, he's getting ice cream. And I'm going to bring in people who are smarter than me. I once was known as a rebellious person without a cause. I'm still a rebel, but now I have a cause, and that is to help the comic book industry evolve, adapt, and grow. It's about helping creators showcase their work and stand up for what is factual, moral, and full of integrity, and never caving to the will of popularity. I will strive to be humble, honest, and thoughtful on all my actions and all of my words. And I will make mistakes, and I will apologize when I need to. And I will try to be the best example I can be for the next generation, which includes my son. I hope to be able to lead those willing into a collaborative partnership that helps comics rise. While I am not, and nor am I a puppet or a parrot or a robot for anyone else, and I only speak for myself, I will stand for others as well. I will always be part devil, so expect sarcasm, humor, and intensity. But I assure you that I can do better, and I will do better, unlike others. And I will, with others, help to break down the gates that keep good creators out. And we will pave a new way where gates don't separate us, but only the fans pick the winners, as it should have always been. And we're going to rejuvenate comics, get little boys and girls like him into comics, and restart this industry into a new age, an age of collaboration, an age of powerful storytelling. And I will be implementing PAIR, which is integrity, respect, authenticity, and of course, professionalism. And I'll leave it at this, and then I'm bringing on the panel because this kid is not giving up on ice cream. This is by, hey, 1 minute. My By Sir Anthony Hopkins said this once. My philosophy is this: it's none of my business what people say or think of me. I am what I am, and I do what I do. I expect nothing and accept everything, and it makes my life so much easier. And that's where I am. So I'm not going to talk any more time. I'm here to advocate. Welcome to the new age of the comic book advocates, and we're bringing in some powerful advocates. Joining me now is a team of amazing people. Meredith disappeared on us, but I don't know why. We're going to pull her out and see if that works again. I'm going to put you back. There we are. Meredith, hi, everyone. Thank you guys for listening to my rant and my cleaning of the closet like Eminem. I was listening to a lot of Eminem today. Listening to some heavy metal coming in. So I'm going to go give the kid an ice cream and set up my new set because I didn't set it up until I was done with this. As you hear, he's trying to get me to do ice cream. So let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Hey, no hitting. Be nice. All right, Chuck, you're up.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Wow. It's hard to follow that, but let's see what I can do, right? I'm Chuck Pino, Pineau. I'm a freelance writer and editor. I've been with Indie Advocates for about 4 years now. I remember when it was Written Sins, and I've been a part of that as a reporter all the way through to how you see me today. Worked on a lot of books. I've written Belial and Welcome to the Void. I have my podcast that I work on, Essence House. I also have Chuck's Raw Reviews, where I talk about the most amazing indie comics I can find around. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell, folks. What about you? Or are we still waiting for Rob? Okay, good.
I guess Rob's still here. Anyway, Brian K. Morris, Rising Tide Publications, independent author, freelance, hybrid author, independent publisher, rather, former award-winning playwright, former mortician's assistant, and just as confused as Chuck, I guess. In addition to publishing and writing comic books and novels, I also host a daily talk show here on Facebook called Nevermind the Furthermore. And then on Tuesday nights, I do Clever Title Pending, which examines creativity and the business behind it. And I'm pleased as punch to be here. Meredith. And I do the fake freeze frame there.
I love it. And I'm so glad you guys went before I did, because I didn't want to go right after Rob. So thanks, guys. I'm Meredith Lochran. I am. So there. Ha! I'm Meredith Lochran, and I am with GeekInsider.com. I am the executive producer of the Geek Insider podcast. We are launching so many shows that I don't want to list it and take up a lot of time. But the one that I'm excited about and we'll probably talk about later is the Comic Noob, because that directly correlates with what we're doing here with the Comic Book Advocating Network. And so, yeah, you can follow me on Geek Insider. You can follow me at MaryJ99. You can do a Google search for the Comic Noob, and that's about it for now. Freeze frame.
Now, one of the things I want to ask each one of you is we're talking about this new network, and for those who are not aware of it, we've all banded together to basically get the idea that the more of us that are here giving a good message out there, the more of us that are standing up for each other and advocating for each other, the better the entire industry will do overall for that. So can you guys just talk about why you've personally joined in on a network that is meant to advocate? We'll go around the room, and we're going to bring in Luke Stone, who's in the car, so I don't know if he's going to be staying long. We'll change our background to represent the new kickoff. Luke, are you there? Luke,
hey.
Can you hear us?
Hey.
Hi. Hello, I had to change my audio over so I could hear you guys.
Okay, tell them who you are.
Can you hear me now?
Luke, can you hear us? This is quickly becoming a Sprint commercial.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Am I supposed to be introducing myself?
Yes, please.
My name's Luke Stone. I am the writer and the artist behind Hybrids, the Sons of God. I'm very passionate about comic books. I've been helping out with the Starcross Comics for about 3 years now, and I work as the project manager for many young creators. Basically, what I do is I help them go from kind of point A to kind of the point B side of it. Like ideas to actual physical comics and stuff like that. It's always been a passion of mine to help people out, and I'm really excited. I was able to listen in on what Rob was saying at the first half of the first bit of the broadcast, and his passion comes through, and I think it excites a lot of us, and I'm totally on board with the comic advocate. So, back to you.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Luke, why don't you call us from your home? I feel horrible if you're the reason you got in an accident because of us. I don't think he can hear me. I'll kick him out, and I think he'll get the message. I don't want anyone getting hurt being on the show. So, talk to me, guys. Why is it important for you guys to advocate for other people? Let's go around the room. Chuck, and then Brian, and then Meredith.
Buckets of money.
Where?
Well, I mean, obviously there is no money because look at poor Luke Stone. If you saw, he had that apron on, which means he's probably taking a job as somebody's personal chef. Why is it important for us to advocate? You know what? So that poor Luke Stone doesn't have to take jobs like that. So that seriously, the seriousness of it is that the whole reason I got into comics is A, because I love the format. I love comics. B, I love story. I love well-told stories. I love badly told stories. I love story. And so it's really hard for a lot of these stories to get out there, especially the ones that really need to and deserve to be checked out. And so supporting these people and helping them to get it out there, it's a really big deal. And I think we could all use it. And I know that Brian and Meredith definitely have their own reasons for doing it. But like for me, I'm a part of this as Chuck's Raw Reviews. And the whole reason I started Chuck's Raw Reviews is because I wanted a platform where someone could get a fun, impassioned, enjoyable review to the work that they had done. And I wanted that for myself. But obviously, I can't make up a review channel for my own damn book. So instead, I did that for other people in the hopes that people would see that and try to do that for others as well. So support's important to me is because I want to give other people what I would like the industry to do for me and for others like me.
All right. Very good.
Brian, what are you?
Okay, thank you, Chuck. I was making sure you made your full point there because it's a point well worth making. I suppose my motivation in this is that I'm kind of a child of the 60s and 70s when we learned to question authority a little. And when I first got into writing and publishing full time, one of the first terms I heard was gatekeeper. And I totally resent the idea that somebody is standing there at the gate, making sure certain people don't get in while maintaining standards that I think are more corporate than creative. I used to get in frequent arguments on LinkedIn, on the publishing groups there, on the book side of things, when people go, "Oh, we need the gatekeepers. They're our key to great literature." And I said, my reply was, well, then I'm going to name my next book The Kardashian Sex Diet, because chances are I'll get in right in the front. The minute you enter Barnes and Noble or Books A Million, there's a big stand-up of my book. Gatekeepers are basically there to establish to maintain the status quo, to keep out the noobs, to keep out the people with fresh ideas, so they can just keep recycling the old. About 100 years ago, Upton Sinclair wrote one of my favorite books, The Jungle, which upended the entire meatpacking industry and created a whole bunch of progress in that field. And we've got a whole bunch of Upton Sinclairs out there that are doing great work, who are illuminating human truths, who are pulling the curtains down and showing you the man in behind it. And I want a place where, whether it's comics or books, where we can have fearless creation, where we are our own gatekeepers. And that is exactly what I want to see. And that's one of the things that excites me about this new movement. Meredith, how about you?
Well, I'm just going to point to the heart on my hat here. It's for the love of what I do. But I've always been an advocate for others. In fact, I advocate harder for others than I often do for myself. And it's when I try to rely on my intuition as to the people that I'm around and the people that I incorporate into my online family, or, my in real life family, even though you might not be blood. I think at some point we can choose our family and not be limited to the one we're born into. So, I mean, for the love of the community, for years I have been an online community engagement specialist. And part of the reason is because people connect to people. They don't connect to things. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. And so when we connect with, there you go, Chuck. He's got some love there too.
I will not be outdone.
When you connect to people, then they want to see you succeed. They want to help you move forward. And that is something that I've always wanted to do. And rarely do I ask for help, because it's always been hard for me to do. And I think that takes a certain amount of humbleness. And if we can do that together, if we can support one another and uplift each other, that's great. Going again after what there you go. After what Rob said, I never thought about the extra I in indie. I never thought about that as like the me. And so I wrote this too. Let's turn the me into we. Why not? I think a lot of people, what happens is they get so afraid that they'll lose their identity that they stay as an island unto themselves. And what they don't realize is that by opening up and being vulnerable and asking for help and networking and sharing your knowledge, you create you're not just an island unto yourself anymore. You're actually taking over the world.
Meredith has a weird goodbye. She doesn't even go like, "Hey, someone else take over." She just stops talking. I'm not doing the hard thing. You all can do the hard thing the rest of the day. I do want to introduce my new co-host, comic books. One of the biggest things that was wrong with my display was I never had comic books out. I create comic books and I never showcased them. So this is it. Forget about the banners. Forget about all that. This is all going to be about comic books going further. As I'm getting that Superman curl that Brian K. Morris was talking about today. I have a natural one. So what do you guys think? Am I right? Is indie becoming this term that doesn't really represent a lot of people anymore? And is there a lot of gatekeeping from your experiences? Because we all have different levels of experience in here. And I know Brian K. Morris has said some stuff about this. And I know Chuck's been in the sauce long enough to know the ingredients at this point. So let's do that again. Let's go around. Am I wrong? Am I off base? Or is the term indie been commercialized to mean something that's not really what it is, but it's packaged to be something different? Brian, you want to start? Chuck.
Sure, why not?
You're happy being a Care Bear right now.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. No, I think you make a good point about indie becoming too much of a blanket term for what many of us are doing. I would say it's almost become genericized to the point where it's almost meaningless. I mean, you don't see DC Comics getting on Indiegogo and saying, "Hey, help finance the latest issue of Brian Michael Bendis' Superman."
They might
they need that. Pardon?
They might have to soon.
Well, that's true. I'm thinking the quote unquote former House of Ideas may need it sooner than that. But that's another topic for another show. No, I think the fact is, just by definition, if we're going to, to a crowdfunding source, we're already independent. Hi, Teresa. Glad to see you. the fact that we are out there crowdfunding, asking people for our financial support, makes us independent of each other. The fact that we're discovering each other all the times. Now, as far as gatekeepers, I've encountered a little of it more on the books, the prose side, than I have in comics. And mostly the gatekeepers I see are the ones for those who want to level up, if you will, and work for one of the bigger companies rather than for themselves for whatever reason. I chalk it up to laziness or a lack of entrepreneurial spirit. But since I've started working in the field that I am, I have about as much use for working at one of the bigger companies as I would, like a fish would have for a bicycle. I don't really feel the need, and in fact, I would feel kind of restrained if I worked for a company that has to run all of their creative decisions past a marketing team, past a legal team. I want to be able to say, okay, I want to write this book about left-handed dinosaurs, for the rest of my life. And then I just go out and find someone of a like interest who will draw it and people who help me produce it. And then I go out and find my audience rather than try to seek out the audience that may be there and just wants the same old, same old. But yeah, I have seen some gatekeepers, and I want to de-employ them as quick as possible.
And we're joined back with Luke Stone. The reason my camera's off, I'll be right back with you guys. I'm tired of people seeing the top of my head while I'm sharing this out. So instead, you guys can see my pretty icon. I'll be back on camera in a minute. Luke, did you hear the question we're talking about?
I didn't. No,
okay.
5G sucks.
So I talked about how I think indie's been hijacked by these publishers, by these creators who are now using it as like, oh, look at me, I'm indie, I'm so hard up, and it's so hard to be me, while they're the same people gatekeeping. And I brought up the fact that why is there an extra I in indie when independent doesn't have two I's? That's because a lot of people have made indie about them. That's why the double I is there. So as a comic book creator, because I want the noob to go last, because she's brand new to this, so I want her to hear everything we're saying and see if she's seen some of this yet, too, because even new, she's a smart, very intelligent woman who catches things, and I've been blown away by what she sees. So, Luke, you've been around a long time. You remember back when we were written sins.
I do.
Don't realize how far me and Luke go back. I've known him for a long time. Do you see what I've seen in the last couple of years, that the word indie has been taken and made to be on the side of a NASCAR thing, and some people want to own it?
Yeah, indubitably I do. Absolutely, I see it. It is definitely a problem, I think, within the indie community. I think anybody that starts to put initials in their movement or in their group has a tendency to do that. And what happens is you've got your people at the top, and they kind of want that loyalty from everyone. So come be a part of this group. You either align with this ideology or you align with that ideology. And what you do is you really are just supporting and funneling your money to that person at the top, or those couple people at the top. And those people at the top aren't really advocating for all the new guys and gals below.
Rarely do I have that.
So that's what I've experienced. What I've seen is people that, and I think everywhere you go, you're going to find those gatekeepers. I think it's difficult inside of the independent comics community. There should be a bit of gatekeeping, I think, in a way, but not to keep people out, but really to help people understand kind of the code to get in. I had a friend who lived in a gated community, and the gate was there, but he gave me the code to get in. So I knew how to get in and out of that neighborhood. And I think that that's what comics is. There's kind of, it's when people say you're breaking into comics, you really are. You have to fight and push to break into the comics industry. Whether it be the lower levels where we're at, the mid levels, or even the higher levels. Obviously, the higher levels, it's much more difficult to do that than it is here. But it does become a kind of a group of people that are used to working with each other, that have a certain expectation and have kind of built that rapport with one another. And in order to get there, as a new creator, whether you're an artist, a writer, editor, letterer, colorist, or just someone that wants to kind of be in the community as whatever, you do have to try to build those relationships, and it's difficult to do without somebody that shows you the code to the gate. So I think there should be some gatekeeping, but I don't think that it should be intended to keep people out. It should be intended to help people get better at their craft. We talk about quality all the time. I think quality is a big deal. I think everyone in this panel and everyone probably watching, quality comics is a big deal. I don't want to buy a comic for $5 and it just and it not be a certain standard. And I think that's one of the things that that some of these groups have started out to like that. They were supposed to help with that, with a quality standard, and it turned out to where it was just kept people out, or pushes people out. And you see this drama all the time on Twitter and from some other creators that's been on panels like this. In fact, I think maybe some of these panels that Rob's done, I've seen them. They just argue back and forth about who did this and who did that and doxing who and this. And I'm like, that's just such a mess. And it's not really what comics is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the story. It's supposed to be about the art. It's supposed to be about the fun and the adventures that you can have inside of those worlds.
I will say this: if anyone starts any of that nonsense, I cut it off quickly. I do want to hear from Chuck before I say anything else. And Meredith, Chuck, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, actually, because for me, I hate generalizations. So as much as there's truth to the statement, I'm not. You're very rarely gonna, and just from talking with me, Rob, I very rarely wholeheartedly say yes to a statement. I go, well, because I love the gray. And I think the wonderful thing about comics is that there's this amazing gray area. Because once I'm in, even when you talk about this low level, mid level, high level bullshit, it's when you're really in there, that shit is by your eyes. You're seeing that. But it's not really there. You know what I mean? Like it is and it isn't. And those people who treat it like it's there, those are the motherfuckers you don't even want to work with. So that's okay. But for me personally, it's all about leveling up and always trying to be better than you were. We see that just in the website, whereas it was Written Sins, and then as it grew, it became something else, and it's now something else. We see that evolution, and we do that as creators. I come out with a book, and I'm all excited, and I make this banner, and then a little while later, I go, oh, man, I want another banner because it doesn't fully speak for me anymore. And, my setup doesn't speak for me anymore. And how I do things doesn't speak for me anymore. Oh, and indie doesn't speak for me anymore. And so it's the idea that, like, at some point, you have to look at that label, and most of us start there, and you have to look at that label, and you have to go, does that mean anything to me? And eventually, you have to make a choice. And for some people, it's, yes, it does. I'm proud to be indie, blah, 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 whatever your reason is. And for me, it was no. Indie is just something that's kind of tacked on there. And I want to support a certain type of comic. I want to support the people who are struggling and trying to get in and really give them somewhere to show off their stuff, because it matters to all of us. But for me, I'm just a comic creator. That's all I've been all along. And at some point, I would love to do some work for the bigs, but it will never stop me from doing what I'm doing here. So, I've never understood the labels. It's never mattered to me. Indie is nice, but it only means to whoever. Even if you ask someone, which company is Indie Comics? I have no idea. Like so many of them are not to me and are to you. That stuff doesn't matter, guys. It's just a bunch of lines and borders and bullshit. So at the end of the day, do what you love, show off what you love, be what you love. That's all that matters.
And before we go to Meredith, you're up next. I just want to shout out, because we don't have the names attached to it. That's Michael Benelli who's saying all this, and I just wanted to give him a shout out and some love. Josh said we got kicked off of Facebook, but we're not. I don't know. Josh is just having a bad signal right now because we're there. And Meredith, you're up. You're in the hot seat.
Okay, well, I am a writer. I am a content creator, and I have always considered myself an indie, and I still do. So to me, it hasn't quite reached the idea of being a bad word, but I do have some thoughts about that. Being an indie used to be a little bit more romanticized. It's like the starving artist, right? you're not a true indie unless you're starving and suffering for your art. And it was kind of worn as this badge of honor in a way, you know? And in a way, I kind of feel like that because my path has been very solo up until now. And I think part of that was because, again, I had a hard time reaching out and networking with people and saying, hey, I'm an idiot. I'd like to learn this. And here I am. I'm almost 50 and I'm trying to break into the comic book industry. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what is wrong with you? But again, this is going back into something that I've always wanted to do. It's always been in the back of my head and I never saw a pathway. And part of that was because I think there was a little bit too much I in the indie. So having said that, I do see a change in how indie is being perceived. It's becoming more mainstream now. More people are accepting of it. And I think the quiet ones, the ones who are really doing the work, who might really consider themselves to be the indie artist, who do still wear that as a badge, are probably a little bit pissed off that it was hijacked. And back to you, Rob.
I do want to make a few points real quick. As far as not to argue with Luke about gatekeeping, I don't agree. I think the fans are supposed to be the gatekeepers. And I think and to what Chuck said, it's always these groups are starting to make these lines and starting to tell you you're no good. And they're trying to tear you down to keep you down. You have to realize you just have to keep your head on, put out quality, and let the fans find you. I had a friend who told me, you can't kickstart Cat Dad and Supermom again. The market won't like it. The market won't like it. Fuck the market. I don't give a shit. I'm not here for the market. I'm not going to a market where fans are and buying fans. I'm reaching out to fans. They tell me what to do. Chuck sold Cat Dad and Supermom at its table. I know he's had good experiences with it. I've had good experiences. So the fucking market was wrong. I came back. I demanded that people take another look at it. And guess what? We're finding success. We've gotten double the backers we had on both campaigns combined. And that's not counting the crossover between the two. We're getting to that number, and we've doubled what we originally raised on the first try. So we're doing something right, and we're hitting our audience. So I'm not going to let anyone tell me anymore except for the fans. And I'll be honest with you. Hold on one second. Crazy kid. I don't know who raised him, but they're not doing a good job. I go out there, and I'm passionate, and I tell the stories, but sometimes I miss. My Monsters book, as much as I love it, the audience did not love it the way I did. I'm going to try to chop it up, put it back out, see if it looks different with a more classic comic book look. I did things differently. I'll give it another try, but the audience is telling me they're not that interested in it. So we canceled doing a third issue. So I listen to fans. They're my gatekeepers because they're the ones who keep letting me go further. No one else is. There are no one else's. And to one point, I think it was Chuck. Were you the one who said you don't even know who indie is anymore, right?
Yeah.
You got all these fucking publishers out there saying they're indie and then bragging about Hollywood deals. Wait a minute. Like the word indie doesn't even make sense anymore because indie was supposed to be independent. How are you independent of anything as a publisher? You are a group. How are you calling yourself indie? I mean, then everyone will say, well, look at Image Comics. Image Comics was indie. Yeah, created by millionaires. So it's real independent. You can do anything you want when you're a millionaire. And you have 7 friends who are millionaires. They were paying like those. I don't know if you guys know this. They were paying them huge amounts of money at that point. They left not worrying about money. And that showed by how badly Image was in their first couple of years. For the most part, getting their books out. Credit to Spawn Creator. He got his books out. He did. Rob Liefeld, I mean, he's trying to make a different Youngblood now. Why does he think it's going to be any different if he didn't do it right the first time? You had your chance. You had your swing. You missed. Go back to making Deadpool at Marvel. That's what you're good at when you have a boss. It's just the truth. Some people need bosses. Some people strive. Everyone here who says that they don't want to work for the bigs is lying to themselves. Every one of us want to live to work for the bigs. Sometimes we want to work there just long enough to make our names bigger. That makes sense. Just to have it under your belt. I get that because that's where I'm at. And I've said it a lot of times. When I punch through in that, it'll be on my terms. I'll pick the book, I'll pick the story, and I'll go in my way. And remember, when you work for them, you get fired. you know? And when you have these guys who have these cult followings, as Randy would call it, they are doing it on purpose. They're telling you they don't want to work for the big guys, but it turns out their names are shit and people know who they are and they're just not allowed. And I say this a lot. There are a lot of people out there canceling themselves right now without realizing it, because most people who get canceled by this industry, they don't get a letter. People just stop returning your mail. People stop talking to you. Suddenly you're not in a place where people are returning your messages. I know I must be doing something right because I get invited to do shows. I get people asking my opinion. My inbox is constantly full of new creators who are said, you know what, someone told me you could help me. You know, that's how I know what I'm doing is right. That's my rudder. So I don't give a shit about your gates. Put up as many gates as you want. When I was a rebellious prick, I learned how to pick locks and how to use a lock cutter. So you put up as many gates as you want. I'm coming in anyway, and I'm bringing some friends. So, you know, I hope I didn't offend anyone, Luke, with the gatekeeping. I just don't believe in it because I think gatekeeping is just enough. I don't even like gates in communities because I think if a community was out patrolling every night and taking care of each other the right way, you'd never need a gate. Because the minute something went down, everyone would be outside and being like, what you doing? Why are you here? You don't belong here. That's what we need. And this whole idea that we're a community, I want to bring that up because it's a big discussion this year. Do you guys honestly think indie comics is a community? Because I think that was the biggest lie I was sold when I got into this, is that we're this community. We're not. We're not a community. There's a lot of people who backstab each other. And it's the most sickening thing I see. And that's the
I will disagree with you there, Rob. I think there is some bits of community there.
No, but I'm asking community, not bits. See, that's
I mean, but that's the thing. You're never going to get everyone that's involved in one particular thing to always be collective in that thing. I mean, here you and I both. I think you misunderstood me with the whole gatekeeping thing. I think there should be a quality standard.
Oh yeah,
by which we do things, and that should be the gate, and that is for the consumer. That's for our fans. And we'll know, you know, but I help young artists who are trying to start out all the time. And, you know, it sounds like, okay, well, this is the standard that you need to get to, but it doesn't mean that you can't still try to break in at some level. And that's the problem with a lot of the whole gatekeeping is like, what happens is, until you're at at a level that they deem that you're fit to create a book, they don't want you to create a book. Well, I say create a book at whatever level you are. But let's have realistic expectations on how you can market that, how you can sell that, and do it. Just continue to do it. You know, like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it. If it's your dream, do it. If you want to write. If you want to draw. If you want to play music, whatever that is, do it. But there should be some levels of quality expectations so that you don't go on American Idol and become a meme. You know, I mean that's not what you want. You don't want to become a joke. You don't want people to become a joke. You want people to become better and to become legitimate creators, and to have their voice, help them share and spread their voice louder. Help be their megaphone in that sense. So that's what I was saying as far as gatekeeping in that sense. But no, I think that there are little pockets of community. I don't think you're going to get the whole community. Like everyone's not going to agree because technically there's a lot of people that are independent publishers that I don't agree with. And I'm not going to agree with those people. But I have created a group of people that are a community to me. I help them, they help me. And, you know, we work in a circle. And then you have to decide which one of those communities that you want to be a part of. It's just like buying a house or renting a house. You decide what town and what neighborhood you want to move into. And then,
Luke,
and then you do it.
Luke, I'm going to interrupt you just because I don't think you understood what I was talking about community, and then I'm giving it right to Chuck because you kind of stepped on me as I was finishing. I meant a community that we're sold that you're a part of, a bigger community where everyone's watching each other. I just do not believe in that. It's the boogeyman that new creators are told, so everyone tries to behave instead of just being a decent human being. Chuck, go ahead.
I think the problem is that we have this idealistic idea of what a community is. Mm-hmm. And so let's, you know what? Why don't you guys come down to Canyon Lake, Texas? That's where I live right now. We're on a small lake. It's a man-made lake, and everyone has their different ideas of what should happen with the town. Of course, it was a nice little nowhere town, but now we have all these tourists in. Do we try to, do more for the tourists, or do we try to take care of the people who live here more? What do we do? Everyone has their different ideas of what's best for the community. And so the thing is that indie comics, in that regard, is a community because it's fractured like a real community. We don't know what we want. What you're talking about, these little groups that take care of themselves and help each other out and support each other and whatnot, these are cliques. They're not community. So what we are in reality is a clique. We're a bunch of people working together to try to make our community and our section of the community as good and great as we possibly can. But as for like this utopian fucking community where everyone's gonna watch your back, no, that ain't happening.
No, that
Especially
don't
when money's
exist.
involved. Especially when money's involved.
Chuck,
So,
you're 100%
yeah.
correct. Money is like when it is money, and whenever the discussion becomes about money, it becomes about more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fame and all the shit that comes with it. Yeah.
It's the business. It is an independent publishing business.
Well, it's an industry. It's even bigger than a business. It's an industry, and we're all part of it. We're all cogs in an industry. And the sooner we realize that and we start playing our roles in that and figuring out how we fit instead of trying to act like we own it, because there's so many people out there trying to own it. Am I wrong, Brian?
No, not at all. I think the difference is, and it's something Meredith touched on, is so many people go into this thinking, how can I get everyone to support me, rather than what are we doing to help us all rise together. I know, I keep beating the drum on this philosophy, not because I've got a trademark on it or anything, God knows, but I've just seen it work. I have experienced it myself. And Chuck made a very good point about, maybe we don't, we have cliques. Yeah, we have the people we hang out with, like-minded people. But I think we all are trying to grow our network of like-minded people who are all rowing in the same direction, rather than somebody who is saying, okay, what can you all do for me? And I keep going back to John F. Kennedy. Remember, he said, ask not what, your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Because I think serving the whole with what we do, by what Luke said, creating quality work and then finding the market for it. I think that's how we do what we do. And I don't want somebody going back. Notice how I'm including everyone here. Now we're getting to Rob talking about the gatekeepers who want, what we do to be a certain way. And the thing is, I grew up in an era of comics when anything went. You had Funny Animal, you had war, you had superhero. It was the freaking Wild West at certain points. There was, the only standard was everyone was trying to do the best work they could on a schedule. And I'm looking at something like that returning nowadays. The only person who's my gatekeeper wears a fez. Oh, except Cookie. She just reminded me I have one gatekeeper. Sorry, dear.
Love you, honey.
Chuck Pino says he loves you. And Meredith said they love you, honey.
So Meredith, as someone new, do you feel like there are these gates that you feel like have been put in front of you? Or do you feel like there's this community like guiding you and taking you to heaven?
Well, I'm coming at this as an impartial observer because I haven't been jaded by the industry at this point. Okay.
Give it time.
So I'm coming in. Yeah, I figured. And that happens with everything. At some point you have to do the laundry and you see the streak marks in the underwear. Okay. I get it. But so
Wait,
here's the thing.
Meredith, are you talking about Dirk? Are you talking about Dirk Manning? Oh, no, sorry. I heard streak. Sorry. My bad.
I'm not going to take credit for this. I read it somewhere, and I feel that it is appropriate for what we're talking about. And it's I'm paraphrasing also. We are not in the same boat. We are all in the same storm. So when you're thinking about the community, all right, are you talking about the storm or are you talking about the boat? Now, the boat is can be a little dinghy, or it could be a yacht, or it could be a streamlined cruiser. It could be, one of the big Carnival cruise lines. So it's like, okay, what little boat are you in, or what big boat are you in? But we're all in the same storm, and how we get there, what the destination is, that all changes. And again, I can't take credit for that, but I just felt that was appropriate. And I go, as an indie creator, and again, I haven't gotten to the point where I rejected that, because I still have this romanticized idea of what that is. I just feel like, okay, I'm in a boat and I want to shore up with somebody else, and maybe all of these little boats can create a raft, and we'll have a bigger wake, and we'll have a bigger impact together. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have the same goal. I mean, the goal, yes, it would be nice to make money with what I'm doing, turn the passion into something that pays the bills. That would be great. For me personally, money is not my major motivation. It is, I want to make enough to pay my bills. I know me. I will work until they pull my cold dead fingers off my keyboard. Again, I think it speaks to motivation, and I think it speaks to who you're tying yourself up with. And it's not a permanent tie. Things happen, and sometimes you break away. Sometimes it's a bigger storm. And I think if we look at it that way, we get a little bit of perception for a lot of this stuff. That's just how I feel about that.
Now, I will say this. While I love what you're trying to say, and of course, I'm here to talk about advocating. So in our next hour, we're going to be talking a lot about that. But I will say that I disagree with you. And here's the difference. And this is something I've noticed. And maybe I give this to you to disagree with. But I've really studied this and really looked. And this is what I came up with. There are two types of people. The people who want cult followers. They are doing things nicely to your face to get you to buy their books so you can get a copy of something they'll never live up to. Back on the floor for you. Something that you should live up to, but they don't have to. And they tell you all these things, but they don't tell you really what to do. They're keeping back the secret sauce. They're really not trying to get you to come up. They're just trying to get you to buy the book, buy their program on how to kickstart, buy their program on how to market, buy all this stuff that they're creating for you. I love the ironicness of the person who kickstarts a book about how to kickstart and be successful. Right there, I love that, because they'll ask me for help. And I'm like, but you know how to do this. You don't need my help. That's that one type of person. And there's the second type of person who learns something and tells someone else, who passes it back down, who gives honest feedback, who gives honest advice. They're not trying to give sheep. I've heard a lot that I'm mean. Like, I have my friends going, when you do your videos, some people like complain that you're kind of mean. And I'm like, you're right, I am mean. And that meanness comes from being a boss, from being a manager, from being a teacher, because you can't teach people holding their hand and being sweet to them all the time. I absolutely agree. You have to blow their ego up when it's right. When I give a compliment, and I'll ask Chuck this, when I give you compliments, do they matter?
Yeah, absolutely they do.
Blow smoke up your fucking ass, right?
You do when I ask you to.
I just need a little ego boost. Blow smoke up my ass.
That sounds like a personal thing right there. Really.
Have I ever given you a compliment?
Lie to me, baby. Lie.
Luke, did you hear me? Did I ever give you a compliment that I didn't seem genuine about giving?
No.
When I give you feedback, do you think that I'm trying to be mean, or I see something?
I think you see something, but of course, I think it comes from the person, from the individual. I try to help a lot of guys. I had a conversation. I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but I had a conversation with a fellow indie creator, and I was trying to, just trying to give him a couple of pointers to maybe, help beat the algorithms. The algorithms that we're all trying to fight in these sites and stuff. And the conversation didn't go so well. And I'm like, look, I was like, you don't have to do anything I say. And honestly, I was just, just trying to share something I'd learned, because somebody did the exact same thing for me on my last campaign. They just came by. They said, "Hey, if you do these little things and hey, here's a couple of avenues you can go down, and maybe it'll help you be successful. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will." And the advice worked, and so I just wanted to pass that on. And so some people just don't want to hear that. They just want to be placated. They just want you to tell them how great they are. They don't want to hear that their story can be better, that their pacing can be better. That's why they refuse to work with an editor. That's why they refuse to work with another publisher. That's why they're indie, because they don't want to subject their work to somebody else that might be able to give them some feedback to be better. And what does rise the community, the tide that rises all ships, is when you work together and you can honestly give good feedback and not tear people down to put them down and keep them down, but to give them the tips they need to get better. And when you could do that in a kind of in a circle of people that you trust. And so that would be my little communities, my little neighborhood, if you will, my clique. Is people that I could trust with that. Rob's one of those people. I know that if he tells me something, it's because he sees something that needs to be fixed, and he's going to tell me, and we have that relationship. I'll take it. And when he compliments me, I'm like, "Are you sure that you want to? Are you sure?" But that's important, and that's what causes people to get better in groups. I think that when Image Comics started, it was a group of people that were used to working together, and they wanted to do something different. They wanted to kind of break out and own their own IPs. And I mean, that was completely different at the time. The idea that I'm going to work for myself in comics. And I just think that's an amazing idea. I think the spirit of being an independent artist or independent writer or creator is a beautiful spirit. And, I'm kind of with Meredith. I'm not on the board of saying it's a bad thing yet, but I think people have, I think there's bad players in everything. And I think the Dirk Mannings and the other of those other people, I hate to even say their names because they're not worth my breath. I think they detract from the Chuck Pinos and from the Brian K. Morrises, from the Travis Gibbs, from the, I was trying to think of all the names of the people that I know now. It's like, I could be here all day. It detracts from the great work that these people are doing. And those are the people we need to be advocating for. The ones that care, the ones that want to work hard, that are willing to let their stuff be up for criticism. Like, tell me how it can be better. Don't tell me how great I am or how much you love me or how good looking I am. I want you to tell me, can I tell the story better? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because art can change the world. We've seen it happen. We saw what happened with the Harlem art, all of that stuff. Art can change the world, and it communicates thoughts and ideas better than anything. I do want to pass it to Meredith, but real quick, I do want to say one thing, just real quick. I don't care if you're nice. I don't need you to be a sweetheart. I'll advocate for you. Make quality stuff that people want, and I got your back. Just don't be a racist. Don't be an asshole to every human being. And don't put yourself above the people, and we'll never have a problem. You don't have to agree with me. I work with people I don't like all the time. Meredith, what were you going to say?
Holy crap.
I was going to say to your point. Yeah, I was going to say to your point, I cannot stand when people have this I'm better than thou attitude. Do what I say, not what I do. And for me, again, when I look for people that I want to associate with and learn from, I learn best by example. I see what they do. I try to emulate that. I try to be a better person. And in doing so, that policy of just do the right thing all the time. It's not as easy as it sounds. But if you do that, then you're being a good example to others. So by having an open heart, to sound a little mushy, have an open heart, have some humbleness that this is all, it doesn't matter what age you are, it's still a learning process. There's always something to learn. If you think you know it all, you're probably the stupidest one in the room.
Yep.
All right. But if you are trying to mentor other people and you say that you're a mentor, but you're being mean or cruel and you're not moving them forward to be a better creator or a better writer draw, whatever it is, then you know what? Then the person who's trying to learn needs to cut their losses and just, maybe it's somebody that you idolize and that you've always wanted to work with, and they turn out to be a piece of shit. It's like, okay, you know what? It's okay to cut that loss and find somebody else who will move you forward. And I think as advocates, that's so important that we remain humble and open and giving to move other people forward, because we are in that constant pursuit. Brian? Do you have anything?
Well, hold on. 1 second, Brian.
I don't know that I could have said it any better. That's awesome.
Brian, well, we actually have another guest. I do want to bring them on. I've been trying. They're in the background. I've been trying to introduce them. If there were gatekeepers, then there would always have to be people who are willing to break those gates down. And our next guest is that person. He will kick a door down, let anyone through, and let the actual fans decide what happens to them instead of anything else. We're bringing in the one, the only, the kid, Varian Grant. What's going on, Varian?
Hey, I was applauding for Meredith. She hit the nail on the head there about mentors. I've decided I was told never to mentor anybody, but just because. But I agree. I think that everyone had great points. I was listening in on the way home. Everyone had great points about just being a fair individual in this business and being a courteous individual. I mean, I think my generation had this. Some people that I knew had this idea that being an artist or a creator gave you this this pass to be an asshole and to be rude and moody and hang out in your basement and hate people. And I like people. I like talking to people. There are times everybody needs to get away for a while, but yeah, I mean, I don't dislike people. There are some people that I dislike actually, but not in general. I think that and I think Luke. I think I came in. I was backstage when he was finishing up. But again, everybody had a good point, and so I don't have anything to say.
Well, Brian, what were you going to say then?
No, I was just echoing what Meredith said. But one thing I will add is that most of the people that I have mentored in the last several years are looking for validation of what could be frequently bad ideas. As everyone knows, I'm big on promotion. I'm big on getting your message out there. And how many people I encounter, I've lost count of, who say, "Oh, I don't want to do that." You have to be a student. You have to learn how to do this stuff. And if it means learning how to be a better person, then yay. This industry, this world can use better people all around. And so, I agree. Encouragement is key. Sharing best practices is key to what we do. Not necessarily doing it for other people, which is a mistake I made for a long time. And then somebody had to remind me, it's like, I'm doing the old thing about teach a man to fish. I was at the shore pulling in fish for everybody else when I realized these people need to learn how to pick up a pole and do it for themselves. And that's what, I think somebody, a group like this is more than equipped to do, to help people level up by being better creators, being smarter creators, being more giving creators.
Yeah, well, there's something that Chuck said earlier, and I just kind of wanted to, kind of to piggyback what Brian said with something that Chuck said. You said when it becomes money, when money gets in the situation, people start to get kind of weird with it, right? And I think that's the problem is a lot of times inside of the community, if you will. Sorry, I use that term, Robin. I know you don't like it. But inside of the industry, okay. Inside of that, you've got people that are all trying to vie for this. They feel like they're vying for the same dollars. And I think that's a problem, because the truth is people will spend money on what they want to spend money on. It doesn't matter if you get to them before I do or not. If they want to spend money on your project and my project, they will spend money on both of them. because they find value in it. And I feel like people like that's where some of the gatekeeping comes, is because they're trying to keep people away from those secrets so that they don't get to their fans. But there's something that I see in the independent authors community that I don't see happening in the independent comics community. And that is that they will share each other's work to their mailing list. They will say, hey, I know this other author writes good stuff and my fans might like it, so I'm going to share it to them, and vice versa. People are so in the comics, independent comics industry are so tight on their fans. They don't want to like share or promote anyone. They want to be promoted by everybody, but they don't want to promote anyone because I think they're afraid that they're going to lose dollars in some way. But I don't see it that way. I see that, I want everyone to be successful. I want Meredith to write a book and her first book to be better than my first book was. I would like to see her, what she does, come out and like kill it. I don't want to see someone that comes on Starcross and their first book be a failure. I want it to do better than my first book did, because it's, if we can all help each other move the bar forward, I think that's good I think it's good for us. I think it's good for the independent comics industry. And I think it's better for the fans. Because that's really what it's all about, right? It's about those people that enjoy your stories, enjoy your work. Because the reason why they come to the independent market is because they're not getting what they necessarily want from the mainstream. Now, I still buy the mainstream. I still buy the big two, the big three, or whatever. I buy those guys. I like some of this stuff. I like some of the older stuff better than I like the newer stuff. But there's some really good stuff inside of coming from these non-mainstream artists and creators. And some of it's not good. Some of it looks good, and then you read it and it's not good. But that's where, they should be a part of some kind of a group or neighborhood, if you will, of people that are willing to help each other raise the bar with each other.
I do want to pass that to actually Chuck to talk a little bit about the Advocator and the stuff we do, because we actually have been sharing all that stuff. And we have been inspiring that change. One quick comment I do want to make, though, because I do want to get beyond mentor, and this is to the audience, not for the panel. Understand most people who, quote unquote, will mentor you didn't invent the wheel. They are not the ones who came up with the system. They're going to try to sell you that they are. The people trying to sell you a book, they're not really mentors. You're their audience, and they are the product, and they're trying to get you to buy. People who really will mentor you know you by name, know you, actually go sit down and have dinner with you, and they actually have real conversations with you. The rest are just selling you merchandise. Chuck, talk about the Advocator and what we do with all that stuff, and how we've changed the market and shown that people can actually work together. Crazy idea.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's funny because like I've been working with the Advocator for like 4 years now. And now, are you talking about the Advocator, the book?
Well, it's all part of it. I mean, all of it comes together, right? The book is just another a stem of what we do. It's another branch of the tree.
I mean, advocating, it's always been about trying to make sure that people have a voice to show off their works, to be able to show what they do, and really just be a part of the industry, or at least this section of it. You know what I mean? And you're always going to find different hoods and boroughs and all that kind of thing. And advocates, we're a borough. But for us, a big part of that is about showing off other people's stuff and not necessarily trying to sell everybody, but just support. And so that's what I do when I'm reviewing someone's book, not tearing it down. I'm trying to show it, and I'm trying to say, hey, I didn't like this book. It's not for me, but if you enjoy this, this, or this, I think you'll like it. You know what I mean? So it's really about trying to get quality stuff out there to people who will enjoy it and to help people find their audience. And so that's really what we've been doing all this time, is just kind of, supporting, showing off other people before ourselves. And, Rob, and I guess me getting out of my humble cycle for just a second, I would say we're kind of good examples for that, because if you look at Indie Advocates, which is now Comic Advocates, you'll see there's very little of our stuff on there. Like, yeah, Chuck's raw reviews is on there, but how much Belial stuff have you seen on there? How much Welcome to the Void stuff have you seen on there? Now, you see books that I've edited, but you just see my name. And I'm not usually putting those articles up there. Rob is, or someone else is putting them up there. I don't talk about my stuff as much. I tend to talk about even the works that I edit more than the works I write. So, and that's just because I want to be supportive. I enjoy supporting. I enjoy showing other people's stuff off. And I know that Rob's the same way. I have to get on his ass all the time. Rob, we're in the middle of a Kickstarter right now. Why are you not talking about your fucking book? Well, yeah, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, we do. And we're one of them. Talk about the fucking book. So, and he has to get on my ass. Chuck, you're a co-creator too, you know. Why aren't you talking about the book? You're right. You're absolutely right. Got to go there. I got to talk about the book. And so I have been. And so you have to find this line. And I think Comic Advocates has always been about finding that line between showing off other people's stuff and being supportive and still being able to support ourselves and be able to show off the cool stuff that we're doing too. So you need to find that line in yourself, and you need to see where that line is, and you need to make it happen. That's what I have to say.
I usually someone jumps in. No one had
I was going to jump in there, and I didn't want to make a joke of what he said, but he's absolutely correct. I mean, there's you know, when he mentioned that you don't put your own stuff up there, I will attest to that. There's very little, you know, Rob and Chuck are just, you know, related projects. I've had the same thing myself. I do not like doing that with Indie Vote. Like, I'll do a new project and I'm like, nope. Because I never wanted, because I know at some point someone is going to say, oh, he just has Indie Vote to pimp himself. And I can say, actually, you go on the page and you look and see how many times I wrote about myself. I will grab myself for a quote if needed. For instance, when they just canceled Space, I reach out to people, hey, could you give me a quote? Do you understand how people will not? We live in an age where I can message you directly. I cannot get a quote from people. Hey, you want to quote me? Can I get a quote from you on this? Yeah, I'll write it. 3 days later, the article's up and gone. Just leave for your quote now. So I will use me as a quote. I'll contact Rob. Hey, Rob, can I get a quote? But I don't like putting myself up there, and it's because I want to promote this industry, and I think that everybody on here has done a good job of promoting other people. I know Luke said with Starcross, they almost have a system set up to elevate and push each other and help each other out, and then that's really what that's when that works. It's beautiful.
It's funny, Varian. I've been on your show. I don't know how many times. I have no fucking clue what book you do.
See? No.
It's the truth. Yeah. I honestly, I want to check out your shit, but I don't know what you've done.
Most people are shocked when they find out I can draw. They're like, you draw? I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, see, you didn't know.
He ain't just a pretty face.
Comic company. What do you think?
Yeah, I think,
and I just want to pop in here with you know, just like kind of a psychology side of things. You know, if anybody here is familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, when we get to a point where we can help other people, we've actually reached a certain level of self-actualization where we're good. I'm good. So you know what? If my book is doing okay and I've got the time and I'm not working on something else or I'm not struggling with something else, I have the time and the energy and the resources to help you move forward. So, you know, I kind of wanted to throw that in there is, you know, to what Chuck was saying is that if you're not promoting yourself, it's probably because you're in a comfortable spot where you don't feel like you need to. Or on the flip side of that is that there are some people who are really terrible at marketing themselves. So it's usually one or the other. And there's very little gray space for that.
You know, I kind of think
and you can tell that Brian's very shy.
Brian is very shy.
I'm trying to overcompensate for it.
I think for me, I don't want to be that guy. And you know, I'm going to say it, and you guys are probably going to recognize this, where they're like, I don't want to be Like, don't bother me with it unless somehow I'm being promoted in it. You know, I want to use whatever uh, whatever my fans or my readers or my friends have done to help me progress. I want to try to help others progress too. I don't want to be the one that just takes from everybody but not gives back. I feel kind of sleazy when I do that. You know, I want to help everybody else get there. So if something, you know, God has been very good to me, and I've received more than I could have ever asked for in most aspects of my life, and definitely in my art and writing endeavors with comic books. And man, if something that I've picked up or someone else has given me along the way can help someone else, then that's what I want to do. And I want to be that person, that voice that he speaks out louder for others than I do for myself, because there have been people that's come and spoke out very loudly for me, much louder for me than they did themselves. Rob, Chuck, Brian, the three guys on the top, you guys have done that. And so I just feel like it's one of those things that it's definitely a pay it forward thing. And I don't want to be that creep that just like only pops in when he's got something going that he needs someone to talk about. It's ugly.
It's funny that you say that, because you know what worries me the most is I see these people, and I'm sure you guys have all, even Meredith, I'm sure you've seen them, where someone will say, "Hey, tell us about your favorite comic book down below," and everyone's talking about all these great books, and then that one asshole will be like, "My book," and instantly, I go straight to, "Fuck you! I want nothing to do with you. I will not be supporting you in any way." And there's a list of those motherfuckers in his head. And anytime someone says, "What's your favorite cover?" "My cover." "What's your favorite book?" "My book." All those guys get listed in there, and guess which motherfuckers don't get supported? Those ones right there, because you know what, man? You're not a fan. I am actually a comic book fan. I love stories. So when I do things like I read Cat Dad and Supermom, I fucking love that last script. It was awesome. I was so excited to work on that. Hybrids for the most part, I just proved it. But that last 8-pager, Luke Stone and I worked our asses off on that thing, and that thing is killer. Those 7 or 8 pages will wreck you. You guys will love it, and it's because we worked our butts off. And I can tell you that Luke worked his ass off to make it good. So, you know, it's easy to talk about other people because I have a genuine love of what people are doing and of the medium that we work in. So I have a hard time doing that with my own stuff because I'm self-criticizing, you know, like, "Oh, Chuck, you could have done this better. You could have done that better. Next time, you know, think about this or think about that." But I'm not thinking about that when I'm dealing with someone else's stuff. I'm just thinking, dude, this is pretty fucking cool. I really like what you did. And, you know, that's kind of where I see it and where I'm at.
You know, Chuck, you and Luke had mentioned it too, but my I think it's always when it comes to helping people, is I want to be the person that wasn't there for me when I was getting into business. And because I'm not going to be here forever. So if I can look back and say, "Hey, I helped that guy get where he's at," or I published that guy's first book, that to me is, you know, and I have some of those experiences already. And they're really, you know, they're what actually keeps me going until they stab me in the back and, you know, turned it a little bit. Then I'm like, that son of a bitch, I should have killed him when I had the chance. But, you know, wait till I tell everybody he traces. It's going to be awesome. Brian, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Brian.
Oh, no. You're making a very valid point. I just raised my hand because, yeah, I have, you know, my style's a little over the top, granted, but I also feel that I promote myself. You know, yes, I would like the financial support, but I think one thing that people can see is that I'm proud of the work I do. Also, the fact that I have, thank the Lord, gotten to where I'm at, such as it is. I have a platform where I can take all the advice that I have been given. Notice that word given. I didn't pay $500 to learn how to publish comics. I didn't spend $1,000 to learn how to do a Kickstarter campaign. I went out and I went to people that were doing it and said, how do I do this? And I feel that my platform allows me to bring people with me. Varian, you made a great point. I'm older than all of you put together, and everyone watching the show. I got more days behind me than I've got in front, but something like this, which I'm very proud of, I don't want it to be my only legacy. I want people to have an example of the rising tide, where we promote others more than we promote ourselves. I mean, honestly, if it weren't for when I do my shows, if it weren't for Rob and a lady named Cindy Kep, people would very rarely hear me talk about where my books are for sale, because I just get like Chuck. I get so wrapped up in talking about hybrids, or talking about Cat Dad, or talking about the Zombiful World of Oz. All these awesome projects that I am privileged to get these sneak peeks of, and I am fired up. And I want, it's like when we have a favorite TV show, we want everyone to hear about it. We just be the first at the water cooler to tell everyone, hey, look at this cool thing I discovered, and share it with people because we love it. And I'm the same way. I want to use what platform I've got, whether you call it thought leader, whatever the current jargon is, that you can help bring people up. And by bringing up people who are doing quality work, I've said for years that I'm not looking for a larger slice of the pie. I want to grow the pie so we all get some. And that's what I'm looking for. The better work we all do, I think it expands the market and shows people who are the quote-unquote gatekeepers, or the people who listen to them and say, wait a minute, that's pretty good. I didn't know that existed. And I want to expose that to people who might not have heard of it otherwise.
Brian, I think it speaks volumes about who you are as a person and as a creator when you have a morning show, and you've been doing it daily for 2 months now, and you have people in there constantly dropping your links because they're advocating for you.
I know.
And that speaks volumes for who you are and what you do. And I think they do it because they love you and they really respect you.
Thank you, Meredith, and thank you, Luke, and thank you, everyone. Seriously.
All right, guys. Yes. I don't mean to cut you off, but we are running out of time.
Aren't we all?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Quicker for you, Brian. Quicker for you.
I know.
What book do you draw? What book do you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Catharsis, Catharsis, The Begotten. I do a book on I do a book on Webtoon called what is it called? Mr. Rusty's.
Yeah. Canceled. You can't even talk about your own book. You don't deserve it.
I'm so not used to it. My
book now, Varian.
People don't invite me on their show to talk about my book. They invite me to talk about Indie Vote, or to say something that's going to offend the Black community. So, they can't say it, so they're like, I know who will say it. I'm going to have Varian on. He's going to say it. Hey, Rob, every time I said F Africa, I was like, no.
We'd like to thank Varian for being part of the network as long as it was. It was a short-lived experiment.
I think I was there for that one, Varian.
Yes, I remember. I even got the nasty email about it, and it was to me. Like, how dare
Varian is selling it as a ringtone now.
Yeah. How dare you let him say that? And I'm like, I'm not playing this game. No matter how I answer this, I'm wrong. No matter what I do now, I'm just not even answering this. Goodbye, garbage.
Let him.
All right. Exactly. Whoa.
You let your boy get out of pocket.
I do want to spend the last half an hour for each one of you actually talking about what you're bringing to the networks. I think that's super important. Each one of you has a very cool skill set, and you're cross promoting and you're doing your own thing. And I want to talk about all that stuff. So we're going to start with Chuck, and there's that big overlay, and I'll show the audience what we're talking about for those tuning in a little later than the others who have been here a while. So this is the new Advocating Network channel. It is a whole bunch of us creators that are coming together. I am super thrilled by it, and I'm trying to see. We kind of changed the one on the YouTube, but it's all here. What we got Comics in Kids' Hands and Paper Heroes. Those are charities or our retreat programs to help out, younger audience people. Comics in Kids' Hands is advocating for it. The Comic Book Advocate Network is where we all put our stuff up. You Create is from Victor Dandridge. Chuck's Raw Reviews he can talk about. Furthermore, Brian can talk about comic book advocates. And one thing that, Chuck, you kept calling it comic advocates, and a couple of you guys have kept calling it comic advocates. And it's natural. When you give something a name, suddenly people shorten it, and they start calling it that. And I'm not mad about it. What I did is I went out and I bought the .com. So now you can get to the site with comic advocates too. That way, because it seems like that's the natural progression. So when we talk about comic books, we often forget to talk about the books part. So now it's just going to be comic advocates as well. The full title will remain comic book advocates, but you don't want to lose anyone, and it's an easier URL to get to. So that's Chuck's. We can thank Chuck for that. And I don't mean that disparaging. I actually mean that seriously.
You better trademark that before someone that hates you goes and tries to trademark it before you do.
Like with Comic Skate?
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I love it.
Let them trademark it. I'll still use it and be like, kiss off, because I've already can prove that I used it before you did. So one thing about trademark, kids, if someone beats you to press and they can prove it, you're shit out of luck. So
the whole thing, I'm like that Michael Jackson, like eating popcorn gift. Yeah. I'm like, I love it.
In that way. So Luke was also part of the network. It didn't last long. Advocate Comic, Zim Geek Channel, NSC Live, all part of it and all part of the OnCon experience. So it's all about, honestly, kidding around aside, it is about bringing all of you the content you deserve, unfiltered. As far as Comic Skate goes, I'm going to say it publicly. Anyone who's Comic Skates, more than welcome here, as long as they don't bring a diatribe of hate. That's all I ask. You come here, you talk about your comics, don't want to hear about your politics. If you want to talk about politics, you ask the CNN and let them sit you down in a chair, and you can talk about politics all you want. We're here to talk comic books. If your book has politics in it, then leave it in your damn book for when I read it. If your book's entirely about politics, go to CNN and see if they will distribute it. Chuck's like, I'm still stuck here with this guy, Rob. He's supposed to pass it, so I'm going to pass it to him so he can explain what Chuck's Raw Reviews is all about.
Well, sorry. I was actually talking to my kid. My kid was trying to talk. I'm like, I'm fucking live. Come on. Anyway, Brian actually said something really interesting earlier. He was talking about how we all kind of have our place and we all kind of have our basics, what we're best at. And, he was right. He's very good at promotion and helping people and teaching people how to promote well and whatnot. And as much as I do promote, it's not necessarily what I'm best at. I love story. I love taking story apart and building on it and trying to make people better than they were. So if you're ever looking for someone for that and just some advice, feel free to hit me up, because that really is what we're about, is helping you along. But Chuck's Raw Reviews specifically, I love showing off books that I love. That really is the basics of it. It's raw. It's uncensored. What I do is I grab a book, I read it, and then half an hour later, I do a video on it. And I tell you about why I liked it and why I think other people will like it. Not every book's for me, but that doesn't make it a bad book. And I'm always very straight about that. So you're not going to have a bad review. I'm not going to come in here and say, this is a shitty book and this is why it sucks. It's not what I do. I'm not interested in that. If a book sucks, I'm just not going to talk about it. Because you don't, and no one else needs me to drag them down, and I don't need that shit on my karma. So you're not going to find that on Chuck's Raw Reviews. Chuck's Raw Reviews is talking about fun books and who's going to like them, and that's what I'm going to do. We're dropping episode 50 in a couple days. We've been making it happen, and it's going to keep happening. So, guys, come check out Chuck's Raw Reviews, and while you're hanging out here, see all the other great stuff that's going on, too.
And I'll say this, and I congratulate Chuck. 50 reviews after all the shitty books that he has been given to actually have to read. And I know he's done 50 reviews, but read 150 books. So I'll give it to Chuck. Chuck, that's a good accomplishment. 50 books, man. That's hard to get. And again, this is the whole point I made a week ago when I said not everyone can make a comic book because so many of them can't write the actual part of the comic book. So God bless you. I might be doing a new show with Meredith, and I was like, can I be honest about the review? She's like, yeah, on Geek Insider, you can be honest. And I was like, oh, yes, finally.
That's an exciting idea.
Meredith.
Finally, I can be honest. Speaking of being honest, Brian K. Morris, as I go catch a crazy kid, tell us about the honesty that is the rising tide.
Well, yeah, we all are about honesty. Meredith, we're going to have a word about Rob later. I tend to be a little more diplomatic, maybe, but no, I agree with Chuck. If you can't say anything nice, move on to the next review. But what do we do here at Rising Tide Publications? Basically, we produce books. We're going to be doing more comic books. We've got one under our belt. Thank you, Luke Stone. Glad you like it. And the idea is the Rising Tide raises all ships. We are currently working with a handful of authors to do a special couple kinds of books in a way that the author can make as much money as they want to and expand their fan base by by basically being exposed to other people's fan base. It's kind of a ripple in the pond kind of thing we are attempting. But what we do also is broadcasting currently. As has been said, Never Mind the Furthermore goes off every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. We talk about basically whatever you want to. If you want to come on and promote your work, that's cool. If you want to come on, even better, and tell people why you are fired up about doing it, even better. That's the key, is people will tell that you're really behind your book and what kind of person you are by your passion for it, not by how much money you think you're going to make from it. But anyway, this is where we talk about all kinds of different stuff on Never Mind the Furthermore every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then Tuesdays, Clever Title Penning at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central is a similar format, but we talk more about the business of creativity and what goes into it, basically from a nuts and bolts level. We're segueing into a more of an interview show, and I am delighted to say it tomorrow. Thank you, Luke, for reminding me what day it is. I am really screwed in that regard. Tomorrow night we're going to be talking to a trio of great people: Luke Stone and Bill Ralph and Ken Keller. We're going to discuss Starcross Comics, the projects that have come across Kickstarter. We're going to talk about what it takes to launch a successful Kickstarter campaign and what Starcross Comics is all about, and other stuff that we'll make up on the fly. Anyway, that's Rising Tide Publications. RisingTide.pub also has a page here on Facebook as well. And what does Meredith say now?
Be careful. It might not be your phone ringing in your pants pocket. You have to watch his show to understand what I'm talking about. And to Chuck, congratulations on episode 50 for your raw reviews. That is just amazing. That just speaks to longevity and stick-to-itiveness. But okay, so here I am, Meredith Loughran. As you can see in my title, I have the noob here, because Rob approached me about being part of the Comic Book Advocating Network. And I was like, I don't know shit about comic books, right? And so I sat on it and I said, of course, I would love to. What can I do? And I was thinking more behind the scenes. And it was in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I sent him a message. I said, I got it, the comic noob, because I'm already on this journey. I've already started first, step one on this. And I said, what if I shared the comics journey from zero to creating your own superhero? And the idea is to have interviews with people who are pros who can take us step by step, and not just for me, but for people who want to get into the field and be a learning experience. And I thought that was very interesting and something that I haven't seen, because, you know, as much as I love participating in these panels and showing up, watching, you guys have been in the field for a while, and, you know, so we're talking about industry things and stuff, and I'm like, well, that's really cool, and I'm learning, but I want to take it a step further and go step by step and really pick at your brains. So we have this scheduled right now for Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't have a guest set up for this Friday, so I don't know if it's going to be this Friday that I launch or next Friday. I'll touch base with Rob and see who we can scare up. But you guys on the panel, you're on my list. So that's really it. I mean, join me for the comics journey as I interview the pros. And we'll move on to Varian. I think you're next, or is it Luke?
It's Luke.
Who wants it more?
I'm going to do the Christian name. Let Luke go. Now it's me.
No.
Yeah. No.
Oh, Rob's getting naked.
I'll do the Christian name. Let Luke go first. Go ahead.
All right. I'll go. So yes, I'm looking forward to what I do at Starcross Comics. I'm the project manager. So what I do is I really apply a nuts and bolts kind of process from, you know, how do you put together a team? You know, how do you budget your stuff out? How do you, we even go as far as, how do you put together an outline for your story arc, and, how do you manage, like, take manageable chunks of creating a comic? Because notice somebody had posted earlier that, they're digging a hole so deep they can almost see China with having to pay for all these books they're doing. And so what I'm going to be doing is we haven't really scheduled when it's going to be, but it's a thing I tried doing a little while ago. Now, I got to tell you, Chuck, doing 50 reviews, I tried to do the comic review thing there for, I think it lasted like 3 weeks. Oh man, it's rough. Right. You go through a lot of things, and I'm like, I felt a lot of emotions, and I couldn't share any of them with anyone. Yep. And so, I kind of abandoned that, but I'm going to be doing something called the Comics Project, and it's going to be a real, like, nuts and bolts approach to how do you do it. Like, even as far as, like, looking at gear, like, that you can use if you're a digital artist, or if you're a traditional artist, or if you're a writer, what's pieces of software that you can use? How do you pick a printer? What printers are out there? How do you make money and set your price points the way, kind of that stuff that everyone that wants to kind of do, like, the big things, but there's those little, like, tedious things that are really, really annoying. And we're going to try to make that fun, and we're going to try to make it quick, and we're going to try to make it very helpful and useful for you in that kind of a case. So when you can't just, like, come to one of us and ask us those questions, because, we're all kind of busy sometimes, you'll have that resource to go to look at. And so that is what I'll be doing and contributing to the Comic Book Advocates Network.
I've got Indie Volt. That's all. Let's get that. I founded Indie Volt. We started off just focused on indie comics. That's all we want to focus on. And then I got friends that are independent filmmakers, independent wrestlers, independent musicians who are, they started hassling me. Like, what about us? So we kind of had mission creep there a bit, where we started, allowing the covering that stuff too, because it also helps for networking. I think we talked about it a while ago, where you can go out to an independent band and say, hey, can I get this track, from you guys? And some of them don't mind. We do reviews, though. I don't do them. I send the reviews out to other people, mainly comic shop owners, to review and tell me what they think of the books. Reviews can be hard because sometimes you review a book and people get mad at you. They don't like their review. They don't like their score. They want to argue their score. Reviews are fickle too, because, again, it depends on that person's personal taste. But we do have reviews on the site. Indie Volt, we also like to promote comics. So we had our show Indie Volt Live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Geekgasm, which is female oriented. So it's our show with just females. It's like Ghostbusters 2016. Like there's a female version of me, a female version of Reno, but there is it's our female show. That's Wednesday at 9 p.m. And then Thursday morning, Randy and I are back with some more guests at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Indie Volt TV is on Roku. A lot of the live streams we put on there. Some other original content we don't have on our YouTube is on Roku, just because I wasn't sure how it would be perceived on YouTube. And Indie Volt Radio as well, where we talk comics and all that good stuff. So yeah, which I need to update because I haven't updated it. I have a new program that's supposed to start. It has not started. Oops, it's my fault. Oh yeah, and there's my comic. Yeah, there's one of my comics. That's Mr. Rusty's. It's on Webtoons. People forget that I can. And the thing about Mr. Rusty's is it's set in the world of my other comic, The Begotten. But Mr. Rusty's is done as an exercise for me. I have to draw in color in 2 days, and it's on Webtoon. And my personal goal is drawing color in 2 days. And
I love that script already.
Thank you.
Is it a horror? Is it a horror film? Because I see a pregnancy test.
Yeah. It's, his girlfriend's pregnant, and he's upset. I based this off a friend of mine. He didn't even know it was happening until I printed it. Yeah, I don't tell anybody I'm doing that.
You didn't know his girl was pregnant?
He didn't know his she's newly pregnant. She's like a couple weeks, and he has to go get a job. And yeah, he ends up working for a little demon. And I think I'm funny because all my things start with imp. Like this episode is called Impotent. The next one is Empty Promises. I'm gonna run out of those very soon.
I think it's okay to be imperfect.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. You guys are giving me you giving me it's more life.
Possible to keep going.
We'll just have to improvise.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are giving me like 5 new script titles now. Thanks, appreciate it.
And remember to always be intelligence. Intelligence is so important. All right, so that's Varian. I am the guy who's bringing WrittenSiN's comics, Advocate Comics, which of course is the Advocator as well. And you can see the Advocator right here as Jax falls to the floor. I'll pick that up so we respect the comics around here. I am the one who created WrittenSiN. I now use it for my own site. There goes the actual tattoo on my body. That's how dedicated I am to what I created, because I love the fact that I create. And that's what I do. I create comic books. So now we have comic advocates or comic book advocates, depending if you don't want to spell out the advocates. The book part in between comic and advocates. And it's all about you guys as fans. We're going to give you as much as we can. Indie Volt's going to give you as much information as they can. When they have a good story, we're going to direct you to it. When Rising Tide is doing something, we're going to tell you to follow the sale over there. When Meredith has something to report, she reports it directly to us, or we go to the Geek Insider and we have them tell you about some stuff we don't cover, including technology. Indie Volt's on. He didn't say it, but Indie Volt does a show on the 9s. Every one of their shows, 9 p.m. On Tuesdays, it's 9 p.m. with the their most educated panel. 9 p.m. on. I have no idea what my son's up to right now. It can't be good. 9 p.m. on Wednesdays is Geek Insider. 9 p.m. on 9 p.m. I'm sorry.
Geekgasm.
You can do it better.
Geekgasm at 9 p.m. and then Indie Volt Breakfast Buzz at 9 a.m. on Thursday mornings, where me and Randy apologize for the last past 2 shows. And then we're back Tuesday to do it again. Also, did not notice that Brian was on at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna expand our show and have a Tuesday night war. Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah, and Brian,
I'll be real honest, Varian. I don't think you guys have a war coming. You guys have such different audiences. I don't think each other's audience knows about each other.
Yeah, because I get a lot of the trolls. I get a lot of the
You're welcome. Glad to send them over.
Yeah. I get trolls. I get yelled at for having guests on. I mean, we've been yelled at.
Where's the banner? Send all hate mail to Indie Volt.
Yeah. He has that one set up. I have one to send. I have one for him too. the indie vote. I always look for my stuff in here. I'm like, where's my stuff? And realize I don't have it. But you got a good point. I get some letters. Wait till you guys see the letters we got this week. If you're looking for some spicy letters.
I don't talk enough shit because I don't get any hate mail.
Oh man, just
I know it bothers me a little bit. I'm gonna be straight with you. It bothers me. I could use a little bit of hate mail.
Start broadcasting on Twitch.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Yeah. Or you can do a show like mine in which they just tell you right there on the spot what a moron you are. So
we got called moon calves, and we had to look it up. It is this sickly looking like calf, but it has these big eyes. It's ridiculous, and so we made it one of our mascots.
Own it.
So Varian called me into a show one morning. That was one of those things. Like, you ever see that gif of Homer Simpson when he comes out of the bushes, then he just goes right back in? I kind of felt like that. I get why he gets some hate mail.
Nope, we're not talking about that one. Nope. Thank you very much. No.
That was a fun day.
Like I was saying,
I need the link to that.
As I'm about to mute everyone on the panel, Comic Book Advocates is definitely the spot to get your information about comic book news. And we're going to continue to do Kickstarter pause, which, I mean, a few people have been offended. And we had a person who was like, oh, don't show my stuff because, the last time you reviewed it, it didn't come off well. The people didn't like it. And my project's doing poorly. So instead of taking the takeaway that maybe I should go a different way because what I'm doing is not working, they decided to be offended. So we're going to continue to offend people to get them to be educated on what's not working. Because I'm not trying to get you to be a cult follower of me. I'm trying to make you better and help you be better because I screwed up. And I'm trying to help you not screw up the way I did. So I'm that old guy with all the scars who looks at the young kid and says, kid, don't do that dumb shit. Trust me, it doesn't work. That's who I'm becoming. All right, ladies, gentlemen, we have 10 minutes. Anyone want a random topic that we didn't cover today about advocating? And no, it can't be about Varian's show, Luke. That stays on his show.
I do have.
Down in the vault stays in the vault.
I do have a question about advocating. Do you guys? What do you do when someone? You guys may have covered this. I'm sorry if you have, but how do you guys handle that person who wants to make you their personal, street team?
I have PTSD about that. I'll start. I made that mistake early on in my my days of advocacy, and I finally had to start drawing some lines about, I'll lead you to the trough, but you've got to pucker up and stick your face in the water. I can't do everything for you. And there are times, as much as I like being an advocate, Uncle Brian just has to, get a little down and dirty and channel his inner Rob Anderson to fire a couple shots 6 inches below the water line, if you know what I mean. So it's a sight I hope you all never see, and I doubt anyone here will. But when I become Dr. Tough Love, brace yourself. Because I really have to be pushed to get to that point. Although some of the best advice I've ever gotten has been tough love. But just the same, I'm loath to scar people. But if I have to, in order to maintain my own sanity, I will do that. I will leave blazing forests in my wake. I'm not afraid.
I set a lot of personal boundaries. And sometimes I'm just like, that's not what I can't help you with that. That's... let me know when there's something. Here's what I do. Here's how I can help. And when something you need falls into that category, let me know. I'll be happy to help. But I can't. I can't do that for everybody. And so instead of do it poorly for everybody, I do it only for a select few. And those people are chosen through a series of physical and mental challenges.
Purity test.
Yes. Much like the Hunger Games, but with less death. Not no death, but less.
I think I'll be fine either way. Chuck?
This street team thing, you know what? I'm not someone else's cheerleader. I'm just a cheerleader in general. So I really hate being fed the dialogue. So at the end of the day, it's like if someone's like, hey, man, I really would love for you to do this. Look, here's what I do. I review and I share. If I do anything beyond that, I'm doing it because I want to. So please don't feed me a script. Don't ask me to jump through these hoops for you. I don't do that for myself. I'm not going to do it for you. And I don't ask other people to do it for me. So, yeah, man, I'm not a huge fan necessarily. I understand the idea of having a street team and sometimes even needing one, but I just haven't gotten there yet. And to me, it doesn't feel organic. And I really try to fit in with the whole organic, everything kind of working itself out. If a street team develops, I want it to develop on its own. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's my street team right there. That little motherfucker, Link.
I'll take this one. So it's the old horse to water, right? So I had this example, this young creator, always trying to send me his stuff, always trying to share it on my page, tags me in everything for over a year. For over a year, he's tagging me and tagging me and tagging me. And he's like, oh, do you know a podcast I could go on? Do you know a show I can go on? I think the creator's a little green. I'm nervous about bringing him on a show because I don't think he's going to come across well. So I'm watching him. And finally, we're doing all these panels. And I'm like, okay, there's some entertaining, goofy ones. I think he'll be a good fit. It's a good way to get his feet wet, maybe being around some more people. We'll season him. So I tag him in it. A year of him tagging me into everything. A year of him sending me the most random stuff and asking my opinions. I tag him one time. He pulls out the prima donna. Oh, why was I tagged here? I lost my shit. I was like, are you kidding me? I thought you wanted to be a comic book professional, so I invited you to panels. My bad. Didn't realize you were on a panel. One of my friends was like, wow, someone got on the wrong side of the bed. I was like, no. For a full year, he's been begging to be on shows. He's been talking about being on shows. He's been sending me everything for a year. I give him a chance, and he's acting like a prima donna. Oh, I think you're taking it too serious, he says. So I did the professional thing. I realized I was letting loose on this kid publicly. So I did him a favor. I took him to the messenger and put him the rest of the way down. And I explained to him how unprofessional it was that when he was given a goddamn opportunity, he acted like a bitch. If he had went to the top of the thing, it said, I tagged people to see who wants to be involved in these panels. Pick the ones that you think will fit you. If you can't fucking read, you don't belong in the comic book industry. If you can't figure out when someone's giving you a fucking opportunity and a bone, because trust me, this guy is not seasoned enough to be around professionals yet. He is still a pup. And we were doing a niceness by trying to involve him in some stuff to give him some education. And this is how he acts. Being invited to something, that is the shit I will never stand. If I invite you to something and you can't do it, I expect a no thank you. The minute you tell me, oh, why'd you tag me in it? You're dead to me. You're dead to me. And if you say another word, you're going to get the fucking devil. You're going to find out why they call me a devil and how that nickname came up. So the New York's going to come out in me. And I'm going to
I can hear it.
What I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did anybody hear the revving sound of that? Was Rob's attitude. He went from 0 to 50. Really.
I worry about Rob because I feel like he doesn't speak his mind very often. And so we just, I often wonder, is this how you really feel, Rob?
I'm holding back because people are listening. You should hear me off air about this guy.
It's funny. Wait till the broadcast ends. It's really going to go.
Yeah, I know, right? I've dealt with the same person. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Merida, how do you deal with it? Someone wants to make you their personal cheerleader.
I have let go of so many people. Actually, that's not true. I think they've let go of me, and I try to keep it that way. I try to be as open and giving as I possibly can. But again, to what Brian was saying and everybody else pretty much here, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And specifically, I'm not going to name names, but I have a friend of mine. He is still a friend. he's been wanting to do a project. He's been wanting to write a book. He's been wanting to launch a podcast, and it's a lot easier when you have people to talk to. So I'm like, if you need a co-host, I will be there. I mean, and we were doing all the things with, setting up the social media, trying to get the marketing done, trying to get an outline for his book so that he could organize things. I mean, because he's a total pantster. And, so we're doing all this work. And when it came time to pull the trigger on it, he disappeared. There was always some excuse. And it was like, you know what? I'm not chasing you down. This is your dream, buddy. I'm trying to help you. And if you don't want it that bad, I can't want it for you. I cannot want it more for you than you want it for yourself. I have other shit to do. And I would rather, and it's not to say, oh, I'm better or blah, blah, blah. I do have a certain skill set, and I do try and give as much of it as I possibly can. At the end of the day, a thank you is great. That's really all I crave. Just a little bit of, I noticed, and I appreciate the effort and things like that. And even if it's a no, that's okay. But don't disappear and don't give me these lame ass excuses. And then you come back a year later and go, oh, like we're picking up where we left off. I draw the line professionally at that point. I can still be friends. We can still talk. We can still hang out and have fun. But when it comes to working on your stuff, you have to show that you want it more than I do.
And that's it, guys. We're at the end of the 2 hours. We explained to you why we switched the names. I hope that you understand that we are not giving up. If anything, we're doubling down. We've got an actual name that encompasses inclusion. It's about bringing everyone together now. I don't care if you're Comics Gate. I don't care if you're Gate Comics. I don't care if you're Gatekeeping Comics. I don't care if you know Gate Comics. I don't care where your gate is. As long as it's not getting in the way of me and my friends, you're fine with me. So if you have something that you want to talk about comic book related, we'll give you a shot. It's up to the audience to tell us if you're worth bringing back. And that's how it's going to be. And you can join me over at Comic Book Advocates or Written Sins Comics or Advocate Comics. Find me all over because this variant show is proven. I own the internet. You can find Chuck on Raw Reviews on YouTube. Brian K. Morris is on every day. He swears he's going to stop, but I believe he likes talking to people every day. I don't believe there's a real Cookie until recently. I thought that Brian was living with a woman named Cookie. And there was just this Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. There wasn't really a Cookie. And then Cookie came on screen. I was like, oh, my God, there's really a Cookie out there. It's awesome. So
it's a Norman Bates thing.
Yeah, you can find him at The Rising Tide. You can find my boy Luke Stone over at Luke Stone Studios and Starcross Comics, which we're teaming up to do an Advocator issue, proving that the Advocator has nothing to do with ego of its creators because none of us are going to be in it, but we're still going to help them as if it's our own. Varian doesn't give himself enough credit. He's a great artist, a great creator. Check out Last Call Comics because he didn't say it. I'll say it. There's a great line of comics there. And, of course, check out Indie Volt. I mean, this guy is breaking down the gates for all of us. You need to support him. Share when he's on. Make sure that you're subscribing to that radio. I can't wait till it comes to Apple so I can get it on my stuff. He's still mad because I do Apple. But, again, Apple's listening. Varian, don't make the list of Apple. It won't go well. They now control money in cars. And finally, Meredith is joining us on Indie Advocates, but also brings in the power of Geek Insider. This is about making sure that you guys finally have something that speaks for everyone. So if you're not getting picked up by us, it's not that we're gatekeeping. It's that you haven't hit the bare minimums of being a human being or the bare minimums of actually creating something we're talking about. We've set the bar so low for you guys that if you're not being paid attention by this network, you have to ask us and be ready to actually hear us explain to you. I'm not here to sugarcoat something. I'm not fucking Mars and whatever the other Snickers. I'm not making candy for you. I want to make you better. And sometimes you got to hear the truth. And sometimes it's going to suck. But if you do well, I'll be the first to pat you on the back, the first to champion your book. I had people who brought me a book. I'm like, this isn't good enough. Gave it right back to them. Needs 4 more pages, needs more story, flush it out. First thing I said to them, they came back to the next thing, showed me what they had next. I told them what to fix. They fixed it again and came back. And now they've got a great book. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to make you better. Trust me, everyone could go do their own thing. Chuck's established himself. He don't have to do anything. Brian gets into every show for free. Luke Stone's just got that religious thing. I mean, religious people have money. They keep throwing money in a plate every time it's passed down. They're like, here's a plate, put money in it.
Various doing it wrong. Oh my gosh.
Got the last call girl, so I mean, he's doing fine. He's doing just fine. And Various going to learn how to make money from all of us. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll give Luke the final word since I made the joke.
Just be good to each other, man. It's comics, for crying out loud. Don't take it too serious. Have some fun with it, and just try to leave the wood pile a little bit higher today than what you found it. All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. And remember to check out the Advocating Network here on YouTube and on Facebook. We'll see you in the funny pages. And remember to be kind and share.